talk about the Steve Miller thing. I've been doing that for about 30 years. And one thing I've noticed with a lot of younger drummers a lot of younger drummers don't understand what their function is on the bandstand. You know, it's one thing to have a bunch of drum stuff together and playing for drummers, but the real deal is having stuff together that makes the other musicians happy, to understanding what they're looking for from you. So when I'm in situations like Steve's gig, I'm just basically playing very simple stuff. Once in a while, maybe a little complicated might sneak in for a second, but basically it's really simple stuff, just laying it out really strong. I feel like my job is I'm a framing carpenter, and I'm going, okay, here's the verse, here's the chorus, here's the bridge, here's what we're doing. And I'm watching Mr. Miller all the time, because he will change stuff on the fly instantaneously, and I've got to be able to catch it so I can play stuff and make sure that we're all together as a band. A lot of times when I see younger drummers or younger players play, they're kind of so in their own little zone, playing bass or playing drums, that they're not, it's more like they're killing time to the point that they can do their thing and like, hey, look at me do that. And I go back to this other boring thing of playing time. To me, it's all about playing time, and that's what the other musicians want from you. The older, experienced musicians, if you want to drive them absolutely crazy, play, you know, that kind of drummer. You know, just like constantly filling. When we fill, there's no room for anybody else to fill. So if you start by playing, I just look at what do I minimally need to play to make sure the tune gets communicated. And then I can always add stuff to it. Some simple rules of thumb, like how do you create a drum part for a tune? You're hearing a tune for the very first time. Try and figure out where the sections are. Here, if you hear the verse, or if there's a pre-chorus, or it's just verse-chorus, bridge, or what the structure is of it. Where are the dynamic levels of this tune? Is the verse at a kind of a low level? Typical thing is the verse is at a bit lower level, and then the chorus gets big. Maybe the whole tune has if it's like a ballad or rock ballad, it's got a big, long climactic climb. So I want to play whatever decision I make for each section, I want to play that same thing the next time that same section comes along. So if I'm playing the hi-hat and acrostic on a verse, boom, tick, dun, dun, tick, tick, dun, tick, dun, dun. Play the chorus, I go back to the verse the second time, probably going to play that acrostic again. And the same bass drum, snare drum part. My parts might be chosen from information that I'm hearing other musicians play. But I want to organize this and be able to recall this so that every time I get to that verse, I'm playing this feel. What this does for the audience is it gives familiarity. You know, a good hit tune, after you've heard the chorus once, you kind of know it's coming again. Oh, here it is, and I know what it is, and I know the part to sing along with or whatever that you've got. So it's familiarity. Maybe on the chorus, we have a bit bigger group. Maybe I go to hi-hat and full snare. And maybe the bridge is the biggest, I go up over to the cymbal. So think of what you're riding on for each section of the tune. You want it to be structured so that you have a nice dynamic structure. We're in charge of most of the dynamics that are going on the stage. Even though other people might be in charge and might be signing the check, but when the show is going down, it's the drums that are dictating what's happening, you know? So it's really important that you're on the same page with the songwriter. You know, here's another little little trick you can use when you're playing in a situation so that you can stop focusing in on yourself so much. It's good to, it's good to be real diligent about playing nice and steady and nice good parts, and all that's good. But it's even more important to be watching what's going on around you or listening very closely. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just literally stare at who's playing. If it's like who's got the ball right now. If it's a singer, if there's vocals happening, the singer's going. If you listen to the singer, you'll know when you can play some fills and when you can't play some fills. There's only so much information that can get communicated at one time. So if you're singing, if there's a bunch of words that are happening and all of a sudden you're playing a drum fill on top of those words, the words were obscured. We just lost the message of the tune. So it's keeping the information in the clear. If you're paying attention to the singer, you'll see where the singer stops singing. You could play a fill if we're going to the next section, Like back on our little thing with the parts for building a structure to the tune. You could also think of it as a manual transmission. You got first gear is the verse, second gear is the pre-chorus, third gear is the chorus, fourth gear is the bridge, or whichever one is the biggest. Every time we shift gears, I need a little fill. If we're going up in energy, I need a little energy from the fill. It signals we're going up. We're taking the audience up in energy with us. We're also letting the musicians on the stand know that here we go to the next section. Then when it comes to the bigger section, I need a bigger fill to take us up to this higher level because we're lifting everybody up to this level. If we go back down again at the end of the chorus, I have to play something that's appropriate that lets the music settle back down to this lower level. So as I said, we're really setting a lot of the stuff with the choices we make with fills and the like. Regarding what we play when we're playing time or the parts, obviously you can play static bass drum parts if you want, and there's tons of records out with those now, thanks to drum machines. I personally like to find a part that's fairly simple or sparse, but also jives with something that the bass might be doing. I don't want to play the whole bass line with my foot, but I want to catch some pieces with it. The other piece I'm listening for when we're playing, for like what subdivision should I use? Should I play quarters? Should I play eighths? Should I play sixteenths? My simple rule of thumb is listen to what's going on around you. What kind of subdivisions is the guitar playing? What kind of subdivisions is the bass playing? If they're only playing eighth note kind of stuff, 16th note stuff may not be the best first choice. I'll just go with eighth notes as a default. If I hear them playing some 16th stuff, then I'll probably start putting some 16th stuff with it, or triplet or whatever it is. So I'm basing my parts on this simple idea of just watching, understanding when there's being information is being presented. If it's a singer, you can see when they're singing, you can see when they're not singing. Don't step on the vocal. If there's somebody playing a solo, you can listen to them too, just as well, and not. But if you watch them, you'll understand when to play something and when not to play something. It's good to play a little thing at the end of a phrase, maybe an 8-bar thing that's just kind of a little breather thing. But the main thing is to really pay attention to the information that's being presented. It's like two people talking at the same time. Imagine you went to a play and the actors were saying their lines at the same time. They're talking over everybody. That's what happens when you've got the musicians do that all the time. Another thing with drummers that play a lot, these guys want to play some fills too, at ends of phrases or at spots. So if you don't clutter that, you're allowing room for the other people to play some music, and they appreciate that very much, Another thing is putting your volume at the appropriate level so that you're supporting the music that you're playing appropriately. In my job with the Steve Miller Band, it's loud and it's powerful, and we're playing these big venues, and I have to come down and I've got to lay it down. If I'm not rocking out, it's not going to rock out. So a lot is on my shoulders at that. But I also do other stuff too. And when you play with other musicians, you have to tailor your energy to that level. And it can be from, screaming loud, even louder than Steve Miller, to really quiet. One story I'll share with you. At the Old Dakota, there was a famous jazz pianist, mostly famous for being a band leader, and he was one of the first guys to hire Charlie Parker. His name was Jay McShann. And he came and played the Old Dakota, and Lowell called, it was me and Gordy Johnson that played behind him. And at this point, Jay was probably 80 if he was a day. Sounded great, but not much energy. Everything was really, really quiet. So we had to contain ourselves under that so that sounded, you were presenting that information. So he sounded the clearest and he sounded the best. If I went up and played really strong, it would destroy the whole thing. So it's being very sensitive to it. A simple way of looking at this is imagine while you're up here playing that you were in the audience watching it. What does it sound like? Who's talking? What's going on right now? If it's like a football team, who's got the ball? Oh, piano player's got the ball. He's playing a solo. Oh, now the singer's going to sing. Oh, now there's a guitar solo. He's got the ball. Pay attention to what's going on. Accompany appropriately.